This is the basics of psychology. This is the history and the scope of psychology. Psychology's roots came from philosophy and biology. Philosophy's questions and biology's methods are what equals psychology. And the picture in the bottom right shows all the different things in your mind and what all brings together psychology. Psychology's birth was in 1879. William Wundt created the first psychology lab in the University of Leipzig, Germany. He was considered the father of experimental psychology as well as the founder of modern psychology. Psychology itself is the scientific study of behavior and mental processes. Behavior is anything an organism does that is an observable or recordable action. Mental processes are the internal subject, debatable experiences inferred from behavior. Philosophers of psychology. John Locke, 1632 through 1704, believed that at birth the mind was a complete blank slate. He believed in empiricism, which means relying on observation and experimentation. Another important philosopher was William James. He created the first psychology textbook, which is shown on the bottom right corner. Pavlov, who was a Russian physiologist, discovered all of the learning principles. The main thing that he found was classical conditioning, which included an unconditioned stimulus, conditioned stimulus, unconditioned reflex, and conditioned reflex. He came up with the experiment with a dog. This experiment was that he would ring a bell and the dog would just react to the bell. He would show him food and the dog would react to the food. But when he rang the bell and showed him the food, the dog would begin salivating. Freud, who was an Austrian physician, was a personality theorist, and he came up with 3 different components. The id, which is all of the biological components of your personality and is where you get your immediate satisfaction from. The ego is the mediator between the id and the superego, trying to keep the two satisfied. The superego uses morals to do what is right and keeps you from doing what is wrong. Piaget, who is a Swiss biologist, was the founder of developmental psychology. He came up with a cognitive theory. The sensory motor stage, which is birth to 2 years, and the key component is object permanence, which means when a baby sees something and then it's hidden, he can find it again. Pre-operational stage is 2 to 7 years, and the key component is egocentrism. This is when they believe everything is about themselves. The operation stage is 7 to 11 years, and the key component is conservation, which is having 2 cups with the same amount of water, pouring one into a taller glass, and the kid would still understand that that was the same amount of water. The formal operation stage is 11 years and on, and the key component is abstract reasoning. There are 4 primary perspectives with psychology. The first one is a behavioral perspective, and this only relies on observable behaviors to determine influences of the environment on behavior. The second is cognitive, and this is thought is what influences all behavior. Third is a neuroscience, how biology and neurochemistry affect your behavior. Psychodynamic is the fourth, and that is how your unconscious thoughts and conflicts influence behavior. The big issue in psychology right now is nature versus nurture. Nature is said to be all of your inherited and genetic components, and nurture is all of the environmental issues after birth. Example is all of your experiences. What concept do you believe has the largest impact on a child? This is a diagram showing nature versus nurture as it applies to psychology. The biological approach is the farthest to nature that you can be. Behaviorism is the farthest to nurture that you could be. There are 4 subfields of psychology. A. Developmental, which means you would work with mental and physical changes throughout a person's life with a particular emphasis on the earlier stages in life. Clinical psychologist would study, assess, and treat people with psychological disorders. An industrial and organizational is applied to work, selection, leadership, management, work and family conflicts, organizational culture, and performance. And sports, mental aspects of sports and competition to maximize performance. Here are a few fun facts about psychology. Placebo pills can have just as much effect on a human as the actual treatment can. Freud is taught at a number of universities except for in their psychology department. Almost all identical twins are not considered identical. A lot of people deja vu about a conversation or a dream. You can only remember 3 to 4 things at a time, and you are hardwired for imitation and empathy.